Jessi, let me be true to my word. 425 out of Washington. Jessi, welcome. You're on with Matt Dillahunty and Seth Andrews. Hi, you there?
How are you guys?
Well, what's on your mind?
Okay, yeah, sorry, I actually almost fell asleep because I was on that hold with the music.
No, we have that effect on people, and it's epidemic. But no, join us in the land of the living and tell us what's on your mind.
Yeah, okay. So I guess the focus of my call would be just inference to the best explanation, which is why I'm a theist.
Inference of what?
Abductive reason? Abductive reasoning?
Just inference to the best explanation,
that is literally the definition of abductive reasoning.
Okay. I'm not sure what that, I'm not like an expert with all this stuff.
Sure.
But I could be misusing terminology.
Jessi, before you continue, if I say theist, can I ask you what specific religion you represent today?
Oh yeah, I'm an evangelical Christian.
Okay,
like Matt used to be.
That's fine. Go ahead, brother.
Heretic. No, I'm just
go ahead. You're
fine. So yeah, basically for me, it's just I like to think of myself as a pretty logical person. So I was hurled into this world, like the rest of us, and we're just trying to make sense of it. So, sorry if I'm a little nervous. This is the first time I've been watching.
You're doing fine.
For a long time.
Doing fine.
It's real actually talking to you. So
you're doing good.
But so, what's that?
You're doing fine, my friend. Keep going.
Okay, cool. So yeah, it's just like the rest of us. It's like we're born into this world, and we're just trying to make sense of it the best we know how. And of course, that could be deceived or self-deception, which is scary because then you don't know that you're deceived if you're deceived. That's the scary thing with that. But I like to think that I try to make sense of the world the best I know how. And so for me, it's like making an inference to the best explanation leads me to theism simply because it's how do I put it? I feel like anything I say, you guys have already heard, but like basically, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it makes more sense, whether it's true or not. It just makes more sense based on what I know up to this point. That
so
there
you're
was
throwing truth out the window and just going by whatever's comforting. Because I don't understand when somebody says, I don't understand how someone can say it makes sense whether it's true or not. Because if it's not true,
okay. So yeah.
Well, is it about comfort or is it about inference and assumption, which may or may not be comforting? I'm a little lost.
Okay, so for me, it's. I'm not claiming knowledge, or I'm not claiming that I know. It's just more what makes the most sense to me based on what I currently know about the world, if that makes sense.
So you would say, based on a limited understanding of the world, which we all have, you have intuited a theistic deity that is the Christian God.
I think that's a correct summation. Yeah, and and I'm willing to admit completely that if we learn new things about the world, which we might, that could totally upend everything I believe, 100%.
I wonder if you were to look backwards and say 1,500 years ago, when we knew less about the world, was Christianity even more reasonable then than it is now?
So objectively, Christianity is as reasonable as it is, regardless of what time, I would suppose.
Oh, that's
right.
That's not.
So yeah, it would. I guess,
and if
then it would seem more reasonable than it does now.
So first of all, abductive reasoning is this reasoning toward the best explanation, and then you have to justify why a particular explanation is in fact the best one, or better than another, or why you are reaching a conclusion to say this is the answer I'm going to accept. Not that you claim to know it, but that you believe that it is true. Because that's what belief is, to assent that it is true. And so you have to show, hey, I must make a decision here, and this is the best explanation that I have available. And even in that scenario, you'd still have to show why it's the best explanation. When it comes to, is there a God? Not only am I not convinced that anybody has to make a decision, I'm not convinced that God could be the best explanation, and that it is a more appealing and intuitive best explanation when your sample size of potential explanations is narrowed. So if you go back 1,500 years, the Christian God was, and any other God, seemed to be a more reasonable explanation for any number of observed phenomenon. You heard a weird noise, you think you saw a ghost. Why is there something rather than nothing? What makes the trees
Right.
grow? Life get here? All of those things intuitively, abductively seem like, oh, because that's what God wanted. But then we went and learned, that lightning is a physical phenomenon, and we learned about DNA and evolution and biology. And so it seems like the more we learn, the fewer space there is left to go sticking a God in as a proposed answer. And so not only is abductive reasoning not acceptable in many categories for, outside of the absolute necessity, but I don't accept that even with abductive reasoning, God did it is ever the best explanation, because it doesn't explain anything. It's indistinguishable from its magic. Is magic the best explanation?
No, but there's.
Okay, then explain how God, from our perspective, is different from magic.
So I track with what you're saying 100%. As far as Christianity back then, theism explained a lot more, only because we didn't know as much. And as we fill in those gaps with actual knowledge about the world, it kind of backed God further and further into a corner. That's a demonstrable historical fact.
Yeah, but that's not what I asked.
I agree there. What's that?
That's not what I asked, though. I asked you to. So you said magic is not the best explanation, but God is, and I'm asking you to show how God is distinguishable from our frame of reference from magic.
Okay, so I guess you're familiar with William Lane Craig. I'm sure you guys are a huge fan of him.
Yes, I've debunked him many times.
One of the things that he said that kind of stuck with me was, the dichotomy, God or not God. Not God kind of implies that reality, in some sense, put itself together. Okay, fair enough. We don't know.
No, Jessi, it absolutely does not imply that. If Craig said that, then he's wrong, and you're wrong to accept that. But my question was,
okay,
how is God distinguishable from magic?
Okay, sorry, I'm rabbit trailing. So, in one sense, he's not, but in the sense that he is distinguishable.
From our frame of reference, sitting here as a human, and you're proposing God did it is the best explanation, and magic did it is not the best explanation. I need to know how those are distinguishable from our frame of reference.
Okay, so I'm not exactly sure, and I'm not trying to be obtuse. I'm trying to be as honest and straightforward as possible. As far as magic, so how I define magic would be, it's almost incoherent. It's like something just magically pops into being seemingly with no explanation. Is that kind of how you define magic?
No, because I don't use the same word to define the word, and I don't necessarily know that it's incoherent. Magic is a word that we tend to label, that we tend to use for violations of the laws of physics that have never been demonstrated to actually exist. The violations.
Okay, got you. So, by all accounts, God would sort of do that.
But do what?
But then again, violate the laws of physics by, being able to, for example, create something out of nothing, creation ex nihilo, right?
Why would you make that? Why would you make the determination that God would and must exist beyond the laws of physics?
So, okay, yeah. So for me, and again, correct me if I'm wrong in my reasoning, but I feel like the universe
I'm
came
not
into
interested in
being at
what you
some
feel
point,
like. What I'm interested in is what can you demonstrate for us? I feel like is something that anyone could say about anything, anywhere. So can you
right?
connect some dots for me?
Okay. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a layman. So I'm just going on my limited understanding of the world. But
Yeah, I
uh,
get it. I'd like to sort of wade through the qualifiers for momentum's sake and just connect the dot for me. How do you get from here to there to the specific Christian God?
well, that's another topic that I wasn't kind of thinking about going into. But just as far as like a theist God as the prime mover, forget about the Christian God, but as just a theistic God as the prime mover, I personally believe that that's logically necessary because, and correct me if I'm wrong, the alternative would be um, that this physical reality just made itself, and that seems incoherent to me.
Okay,
And the
you're
reason that
wrong.
seems incoherent, what's that?
You're wrong, both in virtually
Okay,
everything that you said, but in a technical sense. I just want to clarify the technical one, which is when you say
yeah,
that something
appreciate it.
is when you say that something is logically necessary, logical necessity does not in any way consider content. So a syllogism, for example, is a structured argument. Its validity is entirely about the structure and does not care what the content is. Its
Okay,
soundness is based on whether or not the premises are accepted as true. And so when you
okay,
say X is logically necessary, that is something where you have to actually make the case and not just and to show, what you're talking about specifically.
yeah.
Like when you say
So
it's
if
logically
God is X,
necessary that okay,
yeah.
because it
So
sounds
like,
like what you're doing is once again going, this is what makes the most sense to me, which that's not how reason works. That's not how arguments work. Yeah, I mean, I'll
well, I
let you
mean, yeah,
continue.
yeah. I mean, not to go on a side track too much, but as far as like how we do science and how we learn about the world, we test things, we observe things, we repeat things, and then we come to conclusions that may or may not be true, but they're the current best explanation of the phenomena. Is that correct?
Yes, that's inductive reasoning. That's not abductive reasoning. Science can make use of
Okay.
both, but I mean, we're still
So could
sitting
I
here, and
apply that same line of reasoning? Would it be invalid to apply that same line of reasoning to something outside the universe, like a God or whatever?
first of all, I don't know how you know that God is outside the universe, but what can you tell me about the state of things outside the universe, and how do you know what it is?
Uh, Simple answer: I don't. There's no way,
Cool.
honestly, any of
Can
us
you
can
tell
test
me?
anything outside the universe.
I have a box here on my desk. Do you know anything at all about the size of this box or what may be in this box?
Um, it has six sides, and that's about all I know.
It actually has more than six sides. Um, so you're already wrong, but I asked about the size or its contents, and you avoided
Yeah,
that
I
question.
have
And
no
the
idea.
right answer is if you don't know the size or the contents, wouldn't it be a complete waste of time for you to sit around speculating and having discussions about the size and contents of the box on my desk?
I mean, yeah, unless
Wouldn't it
I was
wouldn't it
going to get.
also be if somebody said, "Hey, do you know how big Matt's box is or what's inside of it?" Wouldn't the right answer just be, "I don't know"?
Yeah, if you don't know, you don't know.
Cool.
That's a perfectly good answer.
And if you
And
why would you
honestly, though, I
ever
Hang
don't.
on, hang on. Let Matt finish.
why would you
Yeah,
form a
sorry.
belief about what you think is most reasonably inside my box if you acknowledge that you don't have any knowledge of it or any way to investigate it?
I wouldn't.
There you go.
Because
That's why.
I wouldn't,
That's
because I
why
don't see
I
any
don't.
value in that.
That's why, exactly. And that's why I don't have beliefs about what is outside space and time. I have no way to investigate it. I don't know if it even makes sense. I don't know how it could possibly make sense to say something exists outside of space and time when existence itself is necessarily temporal. That if we were to say this box on my desk existed for 0 time, isn't that functionally identical to this box on my desk does not exist? And so when people talk about God exists outside of time, to me, that's an admission that God doesn't exist. And I don't know how they know that either. I don't know how they know anything at all about God.
Yeah.
You know what's happened? A bunch of people who are really uncomfortable, like all of us, with saying, I don't know, have been really frustrated for the entirety of human existence with not knowing the answers to why is there something rather than nothing? What happens after we die? Am I alone when I feel alone? Is anybody watching? How did I get here? And so they made shit up. And the stuff that they made up either gets debunked because they were silly enough to make it testable and falsifiable, and then it got falsified, or the stuff they made up, they made it unfalsifiable so that it was impervious to debunking. Those are the ones that persist as religious claims. And it's the reason why there's billions of believers who believe in a variety of different gods, all of whom are untestable, unfalsifiable, and they'll never be proven wrong, probably.
Yeah, and no, I understand that. And just because you can't be proven wrong does not add any value to the truth of it whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, you're there, Jessi. I'm with you. I just, I know the temptation. The temptation is to be like, it just doesn't, like, when you look at the world, it doesn't make any sense. We should have a better understanding of this now. How did this come to be? It seems like either the universe made itself or some being did it, except that maybe the universe wasn't made at all. Maybe it is a natural phenomenon that we are seeing in a limited scope, just as we are for life. Maybe that the universe is, I make a distinction between the universe as our local presentation of the universe and the cosmos, which from Carl Sagan is all that is and ever was. And so the cosmos would include a multiverse and maybe universe generators and all kinds of things that we can't investigate. And what religions are doing and what you're doing, I know that this isn't your intent, you're just an honest thinker pursuing this stuff. What religions do is say, fuck all that extra stuff. Let's not engage in all that imagining. Let's not wonder about, how many of these other billions of possible explanations might be right. Let's just go ahead and accept this one because our ancestors did and the people around us do. And it has added benefits that if I accept this one, I'm not going to be ostracized like that atheist over there. I'm not going to be sidelined. I'm in with the right crowd. And they're not going to take my rights away the way they're going to take other people's rights away. I'd much rather go with what I know, which is human beings and the principles of skepticism and humanism that demonstrably lead to a better world than any religion has ever imagined, and doesn't hinder us from saying, I don't know what the right answer is, but I'm willing to go find out, which religions absolutely do, stopping progress, burning libraries, denying science, and marginalizing people for the entire history of the world.
Yeah, and it's weird because, like, almost everything you just said makes perfect sense.
That's because I'm right.
So, but it's like there's still this part of me that's like, it's a personal thing, so it's hard for me to convey it to you because you obviously aren't me. But it's like everything you said makes perfect sense, but it's like there's still this part of me that's like, it's. I have a friend who's an atheist, and he's the opposite of me. He's like, I just can't understand how you can believe in God, and it's like, yo, that's fair, but I can't understand how you can't believe in God, and I don't even know why I can't understand that. It maybe like you said, because of the social constructs of being raised in a Christian home from generation to generation, and my parents believed it, so I believe it. Maybe I've been indoctrinated. I don't know,
You believe
but
in Bigfoot?
it definitely hasn't. But what's that?
You believe in Bigfoot?
I do not, because I don't think there's. You're going to get me on this. I don't think there's sufficient evidence.
Cool. I agree. Do you think there's more evidence for Bigfoot than there is for God?
Now this is where we might disagree. I think there is better reasons to believe in God than Bigfoot.
No, that's not
Otherwise,
what I
I'd be an
asked.
atheist.
Okay.
Right?
I disagree both ways. I don't think there's more evidence for, and I also don't think there's better reasons for. There's nothing particularly violating, nothing about a Bigfoot, for example, that necessarily violates or requires the suspension of the known laws of the universe. And the exact opposite is true for God. Everything about Bigfoot is a natural process apart from how they manage to stay hidden. Maybe they can cloak themselves. But
Right.
there's nothing about it.
Yeah.
I don't believe that unicorns exist in the fanciful sense. I don't believe that there's a winged horned horse, which is a combination of a Pegasus and a unicorn. However, there's nothing about any of the features of that creature that are remotely in violation of our understanding of reality. And how do I know that on some other planet there's not something that is essentially a horse with wings and a horn? When we start saying that the supernatural,
That's interesting. Yeah.
the thing that we can't test and can't identify, the thing that we can't even investigate, is more reasonable than really absurd seeming physical things, we've completely lost the plot. We've thrown reason out the window and we're just saying, this is what feels better to me. And that's fine. You're in good company. You're there with billions of people for whom it just feels better. I'd rather not be wrong.
Yeah. It's interesting how we can all be honest individuals, can be on the quest for truth, and yet come to drastically different conclusions. And it's like, how does that? If we're all being honest, how did this person come to this conclusion, and how did this person, like me versus you, for example? And obviously,
Well, if I can jump in, Jessi, and I need to do my due diligence and be a good steward of the callers that are still waiting here. But
oh sure,
I have a few thoughts. There are thousands of gears in the belief machine, right? There are so many reasons why people embrace or hold on to or even protect a belief, especially what we call an identity belief, which is what, in your case, I think Christianity is. It was, at least for me, and I think for Matt as well. But a worthy deity would not be threatened by the questions that we're exploring here, would not be bothered by doubt, in fact, would welcome challenge. And I think the encouragement I would like to leave you with is, it's okay. Discomfort is okay. Doubt is, it's something that we use to protect ourselves in every other area of our life. And it keeps us from getting hurt and embracing bad ideas. And doubt can be useful when it comes to whether or not a religious truth claim, any truth claim, is valid or not. So embrace it.
So you're saying whether it's true or not, there can be some value to be gleaned from it.
Well, whether or not it's true and whether it has value are two different questions, right? I mean, I can find value in fiction, but it doesn't mean that I believe in, whatever the subtext of the fictitious story is, or I don't believe in the characters themselves. These are two different conversations.
Right.
But if there is a worthy deity, that deity is not bothered by your doubts, your challenges, or your questions. So continue to ask them. Fair enough?
Yeah, fair enough. Hey, I appreciate you guys taking my call, and I look forward to maybe doing a follow-up with you guys.
Let us know how you do. Take it easy.
Sure. Thanks,
okay.
Man.
Have a good one.
I get frustrated, Matt. I saw a guy, and I am so thankful for progressive humanist Christians, because there are a lot of them who are on our side in the fight for state-church separation, etc. But they continue to, I think they have, it's like the LGBT argument. I saw a person who was like, Jesus never judged gay people. God loves everyone. Come as you are. God would never invent hell, blah, 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 right? My Jesus is all loving. And I'm like, well, it's a wonderful notion, but it's not biblical Christianity. And people say, well, God accepts whoever you are, and it's okay if you have doubts or aren't sure or whatever. And I'm like, well, actually, that's not what the Bible says. The Bible says, blessed are those who have not seen and believed. You are commanded to believe, as if that's even a thing. And the penalty for non-compliance or non-belief is, depart from me, you who are cursed, into a lake of everlasting fire. And so I feel like we have to ask these uncomfortable questions in order to be able to determine whether or not it makes sense morally, historically, scientifically, etc. And it sounds like he's on a journey. I don't know. Did you get that? Like maybe this is part of a larger exploration.
Yeah, I mean, a God that isn't the biblical God, I have probably fewer objections to, other than the objection of where's the demonstration that it's real. There are plenty of different proposed gods, and plenty of different proposed gods even about the same holy book. There's a reason there's over 1,000 denominations of Christians, and why, the Pentecostal church down the street and the Southern Baptist church down the street and the Methodist church down the street can all play softball together, but they definitely do not have the theology that is the same for all of them. I grew up in a family where a good portion of them were Catholics and a good portion of them were Protestants. And my mom's mission was to save the Catholics in her family because Catholicism was a cult. It was a Mary worshiping, saint worshiping cult. So she managed to convince some of her Catholic family members to come join the Baptist church. But when she got married, because she was raised Catholic and nominally Catholic. I mean, Catholic, like, let's get drunk and fuck Catholics. My dad was a Southern Baptist, so they got married in a Methodist church. And my dad was raised the opposite of that, even though it turns out my dad's dad ran moonshine, and then he got saved. And my mom's dad was an alcoholic, and then he got saved. So God saved them all from all this debauchery. And yet, at the end of the day, no sheepishness at all. I'm a better person than the God character, almost any version of the God character in the Bible, and I'm not great.
Hey, come on, man. We gotta promote that clip we all just watched.
Well, I'd rather not shill.
Okay, well, Daddy has a $2,000 a month Red Oak habit, and you're gonna. I am your production god, and you will shill when I tell you to shill. Dance for me, baby.
Go, God damn it. Why did my life come to this? Go to patreon.com/call-the-line and donate. God damn it.
This is what happens when we let live chatters write our scripts.